Something I've talked about in the podcast and I brought up a little bit in the book is being a we brand CEO or a me brand CEO. There are me brand CEOs that are like, hey, it's me. It's all about me.
Right.
Look at me. I'm the brand.
Get that light on me, right?
Or you might have a we brand CEO that says, I'm going to shine the light on that person and that person over there.
Bingo.
Yes. That person can go. They have a job training center. They can do jobs. You as a corporation need to hire them.
Exactly.
And it's good to have a guy like Alex who has business clout say, hey, CEOs, business leaders, I'm looking at you. And the last chapter I want to talk about is under-communicating. I'm talking about ghosting, professionally or otherwise, quiet quitting, quiet firing. Those three in particular, I wrote a chapter about them, and it drives me nuts.
On this episode, so excited to share Rob Johnson. Rob, who many of you will recognize, spent 21 years on Chicago's airwaves at Channel 7, Channel 2, telling us the news every night. He is now a communications consultant. He's got a podcast. He's got a book that he's writing that'll come out in February. He is a board member at Special Olympics. We'll hear the backstory as to how he got connected there. Come join us. Great episode. Tons of information to learn. All about communication, how we're under-communicating, and his book, Over-Communication. Thanks. Join us. Like us. Subscribe to The Intersection at Oak Leyden. Rob, welcome. Thanks for joining us.
It's great to be with you. You and I have known each other for a long time, and you started talking about, hey, we'd love to have you in to do this, and I love spending time in this space. I mean, podcasts are so personal and so unfiltered. And obviously, doing what you all do is near and dear to my heart.
Well, that's awesome, and really appreciate you and all your work, and and we'll get into that. And but I love having the conversation, right? And we were just talking about it's always good to be a good listener, right? And ask good questions. So I'm going to give that a shot and see how that goes for me. But talk about, if you don't mind, kind of going back. It's been 6 or 7 years since you hung out your shingle. You know, you were on a microphone for 21 years talking to the city, right? And how was that transition for you to move from kind of behind the desk, so to speak, to you're getting out and getting it done?
I think the hardest part was deciding what I wanted to do next, because I felt like TV was maybe dying a slow death a little bit. You know, your iPhones, your smartphones, have, you can do digital marketing on there, and it's a more efficient way to do it, and you could see that the profit margins were declining, that things weren't going as well, that sort of thing. But it's all that I knew, right? So I remember having a conversation with my agent, and I had a 6-month vacation to figure out what I was going to do, paid vacation, thank goodness.
Right.
And I said, you go find me the TV job that's worth having.
Right.
And I'm going to go look into like corporate, or I'm going to look into consulting. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'd kind of like to run my own business. I'd kind of like to have flexibility. And he found nothing that was very inspiring. Mm-hmm. And so at the end of that, I said, I think I'm going to pick one of these two. And I realized pretty quickly about corporate and I had one person tell me this when I was going through it. I was like, hey, I'm a great communicator. I'd be great as a CMO or a CCO.
Oh, yeah.
And they said, Rob, the person they're going to hire for that job at the corporation has been playing third base, using the baseball, parlance, their entire career. That's all they did. 15, 20 years, only played third base. You have been playing as long as they have, but you might have played shortstop or outfield or catcher. You're a utility person. You can do it all. But they want that person that has been doing that one thing. And I realized I would be at a competitive disadvantage. And I remember actually interviewing at a very big company that we all know the name of, that I won't mention.
No need to.
But they said, do you want to do internal comms, external comms, investor relations, public relations, crisis? I was like, I could do all those. And they said, you're going to get to do one of those if you do them. And I realized I did not want to be pigeonholed into one thing. And so that's why I went into consulting. And I was very fortunate that Mesero, who is still one of my best clients years later, Richard Price and I have been friends for a long time, and he said we could really use help with our communicating internally, externally, working with executives, doing that sort of thing. So I've been doing that for 6+ years.
So great.
With them. They were the first big client, and they were the client that made me call my wife and Stacy and say, I think I'm going to be a consultant. I'm going to do this. And I had one client.
And her response was?
And she's like, okay. I mean, listen, I give her so much credit because when you're a W-2 person your whole life and you get paid every 2 weeks, right? And you know how much you're getting. You may say I'm worth way more, whatever the case is, but you know it's coming. And when you're 1099, you know, like I am, you don't. It's eat what you kill.
Right.
So where's the paycheck? Well, if you don't go earn it, you don't get it.
You're not getting it.
And so that was a real jarring thing to understand early on about the road I was going down. And I would say it felt a little white knuckle for a while. And then, of course, COVID happened 6 months right after that. So everybody's shutting down. And, you know, I was able to keep it going. But, you know, it was lean to start. And I was able to grow it. And now it's really, you know, this is year, 6. And I would say it's going well, and I'm growing it. I hire people mainly by the project or various other things. So I'm not hiring full-time employees per se, but I'm building a really good team.
You've got a really good team, absolutely,
really good team. And they're like, somebody will say we need help with, you know, it could be not-for-profits, it could be corporations. We want to help with our brand building, and so it's like we got to do content creation, we got to do PR, we got to do social. And so I have really talented people that I work with regularly that have really helped up the game for Rob Johnson Communications. So I love it, and it's exciting, and it at first was very scary. And I'm happy to say that Stacy years later is like, okay, I get it. Even though,
thank God,
you never, do you remember the old George W. Bush hanging the mission accomplished banner? Like, I'm not hanging the mission accomplished banner outside my house.
Good call.
Or my business office. Because no matter how good a month you're having now, you got to have a good month next month. And so it always motivates you.
Right. That's great. I'm so proud of you for that transition, right? Because it's tough for anyone, right? And you were a very public person, right? And so I think it makes it that much more challenging for to be able to pivot that way, and I think it's great.
It was, well, thank you. It was not easy to do, and I was really up for the task. And the thing about TV, I always loved doing it, but I never needed it. There's some people that need it. Like you don't get a great seat at the restaurant anymore. People don't come up and ask for your autograph, this and that. And I'm like, that never. I mean, if people did it, it was fine.
Right.
And if they didn't do it, it was also fine.
Right. Exactly.
But I will tell you, I get more satisfaction if somebody came and, you know, when I was on the air and said, great breaking news coverage, great election night coverage, whatever the case is, I get more satisfaction working as a communicator with somebody who's not as accomplished, watching them soar, watching them head in this direction, watching their peers and their stakeholders that are paying attention notice and be like, wow. And knowing that I had a hand in that, and they'll say, oh, I couldn't have done it without Rob. Whether they say that or not doesn't matter. The fact is that we put in the work, and I get more satisfaction watching them soar than I probably ever did having somebody give me accolades for whatever on-air endeavor was going on.
That's so great, right? And did you think that was going to be the case? Like, that's just got to be such a great ancillary benefit that I don't know that you always think about.
I don't think that I thought this is going to be so great when I watch them soar.
Right.
But all of a sudden, when I realized, boy, we're taking this to the next level. We are really, upgrading this.
Right.
That to me is tremendously gratifying. And every time I see it, I get, chills. It just makes me feel so good. But I also tell everybody I can only work with people that have two things in common, putting in the hard work and self-awareness. So if I say to you, you need help with communication, and they say, oh, we're good. We got a marketing department. I got this. I'm like, very nice to meet you.
I'm fine.
Very nice to meet you.
Exactly.
Good luck.
Bye-bye.
If you have self-awareness, but then you have to put in the work, because everybody has a full-time job that you have to do day in and day out. And then all of a sudden, if you're going to work with me, it's professional development. You have to take that extra hour or half hour here or there and do that. But if you put in that work, if we put in that work, the results happen every single time.
Isn't that great? And it sparks something in me that, where does the buy-in, kind of the first buy-in obviously is the principal, the boss, the CEO, right? To say, Rob, we need you to come in, right? But it feels like, to your point, there's got to be as much or more buy-in from the individual that you're coaching. Right?
You have to, first of all, if a boss says you need to be a better communicator, I think it'd really help if you work with Rob. It can't be punishment. It has to be professional development.
Right.
I'm going to make you Rob is going to make you a better communicator.
Right. You're going to be a more effective leader. You're going to be all of these things by taking these steps and doing this work.
It is absolutely the pitch that they deliver to the person they want to work with me. It has to be in that way. You're not being punished for not being a good communicator. We are investing in you because we believe enough about you as a professional that we want you to be better. And if you work with Rob, you will be. And for me, it's always about building trust. Before I do anything, I always set up a meeting, usually a Zoom meeting, 30 minutes. Where are your pain points? Everybody has them a little bit different. And so it really helps me guide me in terms of listening to what they need.
Right.
And then coming up with I have the voice of reason presentation training, and then tailoring it specifically to those needs. And it's all about building trust with them. It's building trust to where they don't say, God, I got to go work with Rob again. Or they'll say, I want to work with Rob. Because I always tell them, for my clients, that I'm working on retainer for, it's like, you can use me whenever.
Right. I'm available.
This is not a one-time meeting. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, this is, you can call, you can email, we can have meetings whenever you want to.
Isn't that great? And that's got to be reassuring to those folks as well. Like, oh my gosh, you are part of the team. It's not a one and done. It's not transactional, right? You're actually in it. Right. It can't be. You know that, right?
It has to be, as I said a second ago, it has to be built on trust.
Right.
And people have to want to get better. They have to have the self-awareness that I'm not quite where I want to be.
Right.
And I think this guy can help me.
Yeah.
As opposed to, oh, I'm perfect. And, some people are good. And that means the baseline's way higher. So even if we start up here.
There's still opportunity for growth.
You can still grow. Yeah.
Absolutely. Right. And what I love what you said was, yes, you have a program, but you also tailor it, right? It can't be off the shelf, right? Like, no. Rob, you get this. Jim, you get this. Gene, you get this, right? No, it's got to be specific to the individual.
It's always evolving, but I put together, I bet I have 200 slides in a presentation that are available. Mm-hmm. And I'll bet you 100 of them are relevant to your presentation or anybody else's. And it might be a little bit different for somebody else. So it's me going through there, cleaning them up, making them look better if it's been a while, and also tailoring it to exactly what they need.
Right.
So that's the beauty of having that kind of training protocol, is that I've done the work and I've done it a lot.
Right.
And I've seen, I need to add 5, slides about this or about that, or those aren't really relevant anymore.
Right.
So it's always it's a living, breathing document that's always under review.
That's so good. That's so great. So from a kind of a client perspective, was it hard to kind of get to a point where, all right, I think I've got a good kind of base of clients that, I'll add more as they come, but I'm really I'm satisfied with where I am.
I don't think, aside from the comment about the mission accomplished banner,
right.
I don't think you can ever have enough clients. And if anybody ever says, I've got this really great project I want you to do, the answer is always yes. And then it's up to me
we'll work out,
to figure out who can I hire to be part of my team who's already, who already exists there,
out there
in that world to help me execute it the way I need to. So I never say, I'm good. I can't handle any more clients. I can always handle more clients.
Right.
That's why my business is growing, because now for some of these clients, I'm taking more of an advisory role, like a project lead.
Right.
And so it's
thought partner.
We're talking about the podcast.
Right.
Several of my clients are doing podcasts. When I first started out, I was writing it, I was helping it, everything. And then all of a sudden, I have this excellent podcast producer. His name's Rob Abrazato. He lives on Staten Island in New York. And all of a sudden, and when we first started, I said, eventually I'm going to be handing most of this off to you.
Right.
Because I got to be in charge of everything, and the podcast is one of the key components. And so for me, stepping back and not being front and center doing every little ounce of work is necessary to be able to handle these clients and to be able to project manage what they need, and to be able to bring on good people to help who they trust and who do a great job. And then they go, man, you have a really good team. And I think, well, thank you.
That's
a huge compliment, because if they didn't think that, then they'd have no reason to want to keep hiring me.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and also you've been around enough that that you can't do it all, right? So you need all of those pieces.
And I'm perfectly comfortable with the fact that, and fortunately for me, I'm not a micromanager.
Right.
So I really want people to do their job. Right. I want them to do their job. But we were just working on some social stuff. for one of the clients, and I review it and that
Sure.
sort of thing. And so I'm giving feedback. All right, do that. It needs a little bit more here. It needs a little bit more there. Needs a little bit more there. Any way that I can guide them and let them know that the client expects this level of performance and quality.
Right.
We need to up it.
Yeah.
And what do you need? You need CapCut. You need what tools do you need to do your best job?
Right. Right. How can I support you to get that top level?
But I don't want to do the work.
Right. Right.
I mean the kind of day-to-day like social.
right.
I'm not a social media manager.
No.
But my social media manager, who's very good, Ashley Perino, she's in there. She's creating the content. I'm there. You know, we were at a client's holiday party last week, creating all sorts of content, and now we're trying to, make sure that we have it, released, every other day for the next couple of weeks.
Right.
So it's a lot of fun. I enjoy it.
That's great. That's really good. Kind of crazy year-end stuff happening.
I would just say the only thing about year-end is, when it's December or when it's November, or if you're doing it right, when it's October, you're like, what's happening in February and March and April?
Right.
You need to be thinking about 2026.
Right.
So a lot of my time, I'm actually getting a lot of projects for some of my clients off the books. Some of the content that I do create, I'm making sure that it's going to be completed by tomorrow. 3 or 4 projects, but then what's happening in 2026?
Right.
What are we doing? How are we getting going? And I have some potentially really great clients. They're going to come on board in early 2026, and so then all of a sudden there's a lot of administrative, like how are we going to work that deal? How are we going to make it happen? And then I'm writing a book called Over Communicate, a guide for business executives and aspiring leaders. On top of running a company, I also decided to write a book. I'm in.
Do you have more time in the week than I do?
I don't. My wife said, I thought we weren't going to be like pedal to the metal. And I said, oh, we won't be. Next year we won't be. And then I go, oh gosh, the book's coming out, and I got book tour and run. I was like 2027.
I meant 2027, right? Yeah.
I think that's what I meant. It's a lot.
And
but
Stacey's looking at you like, seriously?
I know she's, but I got to tell you, she's a good sport. Like I said, she weathered the W-2 to 1099 life.
Right. Oh yeah.
And now it's like, but we still have to do things as a family. Our son Jaden's 20. He's finishing up junior hockey. He's going to go to college next year and play hockey.
Has he decided where?
He is still deciding. He's committed to one university.
Okay.
And we are hoping that works out.
Great.
But you always, if you're a planner, if you're looking around corners like I always do, I'm like,
hey, what's over there? Right.
That doesn't.
Right.
What else is going on?
Right.
I don't want to say too much because,
No, absolutely.
Somebody's going to, if they hear this, they're going to be like, you shouldn't be telling all that.
Right. No, but you had posted that you were in Western Canada, right?
Yeah.
And looked like a great trip, right?
We were there for 10 days with our son in British Columbia. Fortunately, it did not work out with that team there. So he is back at his team he played for last year that he did very well with in New Hampshire. That meant Stacey met him in Washington. They drove home for a few days, then drove to the East Coast. They drove 3,000 miles in a week.
Wow.
That's commitment.
That is commitment, right?
And they went on. But you know what they were able to do? My son's like, Jaden's like, I don't think I'm ever going to Mount Rushmore again. There's no chance I'm ever going to be here. So let's stop.
Let's stop.
So they did.
Well, fun mother-son time.
It was great. It was great mother-son time, and I'm,
And you were in Chicago working.
I was in Chicago working, and I'm grateful that I can do that. And I'm also, you don't want to miss those moments with your children, right? Even when they're getting a little bit older.
Oh yeah,
right.
Oh no, I was joking with a friend not long ago when your adult child, and our kids are 35 and 33. When your adult child says, "Hey, Dad, do you want to?" Yes. Don't even finish the statement. Yes, I'm in. Whatever that is, right?
Jump off a cliff. Yes,
sure, yes.
Are you going to? All right.
Exactly.
I mean,
I'm just jumping. Right?
The other thing that I tell people with young children, and I try not to sound like an old guy, is enjoy it. Because everybody told me that, which is true.
Right.
And second of all it doesn't matter how old they get, 35, 33, 20, whatever it is, you're always going to worry about them. You're just going to worry about different things.
Right.
When they're young, oh my gosh, get in the right school or this, or they're getting along with their friends or athletics, academics, whatever it is.
Right.
And as they get older, the issues change a little bit, but I still wake up in the middle of the night worrying and making sure I'm doing right by them, which of course I am. But
of course, yeah.
But you want good results to happen.
Absolutely. If my bride were here, she'd be like, "You don't worry," talking about me.
Yeah.
Like, No, she worries for both of us, so
Well,
I'm good. Right?
Well, unfortunately for Stacy and me, we both worry for each other and individually. So, but you know, listen, it's because we love them so much,
Right,
and
totally.
and you just want the best for your kids.
Absolutely, absolutely, and you're charting the right course, right? So he's got a North Star that he's following.
He knows it. He knows it for sure. He's very clear on it.
That's
Yeah,
which is good.
It is good.
So I'm sure it leaves kind of a warm spot in your heart. Like, okay, we so far so good. We've done a nice job so far.
When people say, "Man, he's so mannerly and he's so easy to talk to and he's so," and I think,
could you hear anything better? Right?
And I'm like,
yeah, I want a good.
You couldn't.
Kid,
you
right?
might not have been able to say anything nicer. So thank you.
Right. Exactly. And the fact that people take the time to share that with you, right?
Because you don't have to say it.
No.
You know, if your kids, you know, meh. Nobody has to say anything.
Right.
And if somebody takes the time to say, I'm going to say that to them, then you know they mean it.
Right.
And that makes you feel good. Conversely, when I'm around somebody's, daughter or son, and they do something that is impressive, even for however old they are.
Right.
And I'll tell them, and I'm like, that's parenting.
Right.
And so you should know that. And,
right.
And people are like, yeah, because you don't hear it a lot.
You don't. And right. So, and it's nice. Right. Yeah. So that's great. That's really awesome. So, let's dive into the podcast, right?
Yeah.
So I'll get it right this time. Can you hear me? Right. And so you've been 107 episodes now, right? How did that kind of start? What was the genesis of that?
Well, I love content creation. So aside from creating content for my clients,
right?
I still had the creative itch on my own. And I think that's where the book comes from. It's where the podcast comes from. I don't need to be on the air every day in a makeup and tie and, here's what happened today.
It's much more comfortable like this,
It's
isn't it?
way more comfortable like this. I love having the flexibility to come and go as I please.
Yep.
That's awesome. But I still have that creative, desire.
It's in here somewhere, right?
And so several people had said, "Oh, we should do a podcast together," or "You should do a podcast." And I couldn't really think of it. And then Eileen Rochford, who runs the Harbinger Group in Chicago, she and I had known each other for years, and she actually gave me some work when I was in my transition to see if I wanted to do consulting. And so she was very supportive, and still is. And she was like, "We should do a communications podcast." And she had never done it before.
Okay.
I'd never done it before, but obviously I had the performative things
absolutely
due to TV.
Right.
And I was like, that would be great. I mean,
you guys are a really nice team also. You guys are a really nice team.
She's such a joy. I just, you know what? I don't want to throw people under the bus but in performing sometimes, no matter if it's TV or if it's acting or whatever it is, people get worried about, how much airtime they got and did I get my word in? Did I this and that?
Right.
And with her, because she's so normal and smart and dynamic, we just never worry about that.
No.
And I'll create a script just so we have a roadmap.
Sure.
So we know what's next because it's co-hosted. So we need to kind of know what's next. And I'll be like, oh, it's her. And I'm thinking it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. Exactly.
But also the knowledge that she has from being in the agency world for years and for running the Harbinger Group for 20 plus years now, I felt like we'll get some interesting guests. So I think between her and I, we're able to get some really interesting people on. Some of them you've heard of, most of them you haven't, but they're all accomplished in their own way, I think.
Absolutely.
And the magic is, so I will send the script to them and say, this is kind of the roadmap.
Right.
We keep the train on the tracks.
Yeah.
But where it says, RJ answers and discuss, that's where the magic is.
That's where you're going.
I tee you up if you're on.
Boom.
And so I remind people it's the conversation.
Absolutely.
It's about the exploration. It's about the discovery of what we're going to learn about you as a guest that we don't yet know.
Right. That's spot on, right? Yeah. And what I love, again, you two are a really nice team, and at no point in time does it ever look like I'm just waiting to jump in, like double dutch, right? Like, to your point, right? You're saying something, and she's just nodding and engaged in whatever the conversation, whatever the question is. Then when she's, I mean, it's really,
fine.
It's nice.
The thing about it is, based on who knows whom and that sort of thing. I mean, even if it's somebody she's known for years, we all have a good time and make them feel at ease and that sort of thing. But she has that history, so she may go, "Oh, I had to follow up here," or this, and sometimes she'll ask for permission. I'm like, you don't have to just jump in. You don't have to ask for permission.
Exactly.
Ask 2 or 3 questions in
and
a row.
Also, tell me to be quiet,
and I'll shut up for 5 minutes. And conversely, I'll be engaged with somebody, and it's
natural.
It's natural.
It is natural,
and we don't spend time worrying about that. But most importantly, I feel like it's a great resource for people who are communicators.
Right.
People who are, kind of, at the beginning or middle of their careers, but who want to ascend in their careers. And also I think that we give some pretty good advice for C-suite executives about things they should be thinking about, because some people look at the communication piece as, soft skills and this and that, and it's not P&Ls and it's not all this other kind of stuff. And it's like, but if you don't get your team on the same page, you have no chance, which is why I wrote the book.
Right, exactly.
But I love the podcast. Over 100 episodes, and it gets really nice reviews from Good Pods, which is kind of podcast, watchdog, if you will. And they always have us top ranked in like PR and digital marketing. So it's very reassuring to have that.
Right.
But
that you're on track.
We have a great time doing it.
Yeah, and it shows. So yeah, well done. And I'm sure your clients then are like, I like what you're doing there. So right. So help me do that.
I think it helps. I think it helps to be able to say, I can tell you about what I do.
Right.
And then sometimes I can tell you about what I do, but I could also say, here's a link to the latest podcast. Like, I'll be making a point to somebody that may not be getting through to them.
Right.
And I was, for instance, there was a guy who is working on one of the teams that I'm one of my clients, and he is kind of got hired doing marketing, but his job requirement's going to be far more than marketing. He got in the door with marketing, but he really needs to be, an exec, a chief of staff, pointing people in the right direction. And so we had somebody on recently who was an expert in that sort of thing about the elevated role of marketers and communicators, in the C-suite. And I just said, hey, here's a link. Why don't you I'm not trying to get you to, listen to, 1,000 of my episodes or anything. I just think it would be helpful to you.
This is a good...
This would be worth 25 or 30 minutes of your time.
Right. Perfect.
And I think it was. And so to be able to illustrate that subject matter expertise, and then to be able to talk about it with people face to face, but also say, you might want to listen to that too, because we have a really insightful guest on who's in that space all day.
Well, and it's a different voice also, right? And you can't undervalue that, right?
That's true.
So
it's a lot of fun to be able to do that and use it as, hey, here's what we're on the record talking about, and here's how it's relevant to people that are, in business.
Right. That's so good. So so we'll get into the book in a little bit, but I'm curious, so the whole idea of the intersection, right, is business, philanthropy, civic engagement, that's all of you, right? And and I know when you were on TV, you gave of your time, right? You emceed, you sat on boards, everything. But I know, you are really engaged with Special Olympics, right? And among others. But so talk a little bit about how you got involved and how does that feed you?
Well, because I have a brother with Down syndrome, Edward, who just turned 54 years old. He can't get the 50 part. He goes 54. He's 54. He lives in Little Rock at an Easter Seals facility, and he's why we do all of this. My whole family. So for years, when I would before I joined the board, because my schedule was so odd, I only had time to MC stuff. So I'd MC stuff. I might come to a meeting here or there, whatever the case was. And then in 2015, I was asked to join the board, and even then, it was hard to go to a lot of these events or meetings because I'm on the air or whatever the case is. And but I would always talk about Edward, and he was this mythical character. And then in 2018, we had the 50 year, and my family came, and we had a table, and my family minus my youngest brother Andrew, who I wish had been there because he's been on this ride the whole time too. Literally took a bow on stage. Like here they are. Here's Edward. Here's my mom and dad, the people I talk about all the time, who set the tone for us. Right. Who gave us confidence to be like, he's our brother, and you're going to respect him. They taught us so many important things, and so after I left TV, I had more time. It was more flexible, and I could control my own schedule. So I went from a couple of meetings a year, great intentions. I'd MC the heck out of the event, and we'd be creative and fun and engaging and everything else. And now, years later, I'm obviously on the board. I chair marketing and communications. I am on the executive committee, and I'm on the inclusion committee as well. The more you give, the more you get, right? So all of a sudden you're like, well, what's in it for you? I'm like, well, the more I put into it, the more I get back. And I never was able to do that when I had an inflexible schedule.
Right, right.
And once I had a flexible schedule and I can go to most meetings,
so good.
It's great. And I feel like I'm really making an imprint on that. And I don't MC the event anymore, even though I'd be the perfect person to.
Exactly.
Because I've walked
You're
that
even
walk.
more engaged in it.
But
right?
Rob, the head of marketing and communications for Special Olympics Illinois, says, it'd be really great if we had an excellent media partner like WGN,
right,
who will go and do stories. We'll have one of their people MC it with one of our athletes. It's great. So people are like, oh, I'm like, they don't pay me by the word, so I'm good.
Right.
And as somebody who's overseeing things, it makes more sense.
Right.
And I used to do 75 events a year in total. I probably still do 20 or 25, which, even for not being in the business, that's a fair number.
Oh my gosh.
And it's just something I've always done. And whenever somebody has a cause, or when somebody has something, especially causes where you need that extra visibility.
Right.
There's certain charities where they're good. Right. They're gonna raise $5 million tonight. They're gonna sell a puppy for $50,000.
Exactly.
Right. For an auction item.
Right. What value am I adding? Right.
But how can I help people that need the to have the light shine on them a little bit more? That's where I feel like time is better spent. But I love doing it, and the more I put, like I said, the more I put in, the more I get out of it. But I'm really proud of the legacy. I'm proud of the legacy, of our Champions Ball. Everybody dresses up in ball gowns and tuxes, but everybody wears fun shoes.
Exactly. And I love that.
And they're like, "Where'd that come from?" I said, "Well, actually, Don Giroux, who is on the foundation board, and I we're standing in a elevator 15 years ago, and we're like, we're not snooty, we're not like uptight or whatever. We're all dressed. We should have fun shoes. Next year, we're going to do fun shoes." And that's how it happened. Boom. He and I decided we're going to do fun shoes, and now it's a movement.
Isn't that awesome?
Or getting, I would MC the event, and then one year I'm like, wouldn't it make more sense to really highlight one of the athletes and have them co-host it, and shine the light on them?
Imagine.
And show them doing things that people think they can't do. Exactly. Oh, they can do it.
They can do it. Trust me, they can do it.
And so I started the co-hosting with the athletes, and now 15, 20 years later, that and the shoes are like that's what our event is known for, right? And it's so important to highlight the athletes
too, by the way.
And we raise a few bucks, which is good,
which is pretty good too, right?
But I'm really proud of the work that we do, and the way that our athletes are the stars,
right, yeah,
and they need to be out front, and they need to be doing interviews, and they need to be mentors to other people, who are in their situation, who may not know how to do that.
Right.
We're all well-intentioned. We're all in the tent. We're all true believers. But the athletes are the ones who drive the point home. They're the ones who make that connection that we need to make to be a successful organization.
Right. Well done. Well done.
It's been fun.
Yeah, I mean, you could tell. I mean, your face is lit up, right? Yeah.
It's awesome.
Well, how could it not? Also, right? I mean, it just.
Well, to see, I think for years, and you guys can probably relate to that. I know you can. I feel like everybody in the disability community has always been so congenial and so polite, and this and that. And I'm not saying we're going to scorch the earth.
No.
But I'm like, I want to see a little swagger. I want to, when it came to the R word, and I hate it that it still even exists, and that people in positions of authority think it's okay to use it, which signals to everybody else that it's okay to use it.
Right.
That makes me sick. And I want to drive home points like that it's not okay to treat these individuals with less dignity than somebody else.
Exactly.
And when I see people get it, and when I see these athletes at Special Olympics Illinois, that they get this confidence,
right? And
they're doing like international work, going all over the world, spreading the word about what we do. I'm like, that is
Bingo.
A win, and I'm glad that I played a small part in helping elevate them.
Totally. I loved your analogy of shining the light on them, right? That's where the light should be. These folks have been on the margins their entire lives, right? Time for them to get in the spotlight.
It is, and the thing about it is they're capable and ready and eager and willing to do it. Right. And you should see them. I mean, you've seen them. I mean, when you see somebody that's got opportunity, and then they get confidence, and then they turn into this person that's just so dynamic that maybe you didn't know existed.
Right.
That's, people talk about disability. That's the ability. That's ability.
The ability. Exactly. Yeah. Our tagline is able and equal. And that's
As they should be.
As they should be.
You know,
exactly.
and one of the other things that I want to say that I think is really important is the opportunity to gain employment. And I know there's a lot of people that are committed to that, Special Olympics among them. I know that's something that you all think about as well.
Right, absolutely.
I've had the great pleasure working with the Alexander S. Picios Foundation, Family Foundation. Alex Picios, who used to run Cinespace here in Chicago. He is very committed to this cause, and we've been working together with various groups like Gateway to Learning and others to try to elevate that idea that, yes, that person can go. They have a job training center. They can do jobs. You as a corporation need to hire them.
Exactly.
And it's good to have a guy like Alex who has business clout say, hey, CEOs, business leaders, I'm looking at you.
Right.
Let's go.
Right. Talk about added value, right? That's the piece that folks don't understand, right? That what our folks bring to the table, right? And it's...
You want to talk about loyalty? You want to talk about on task? You want to talk about, listen, they're not going to run your company. That's fine.
That's fine.
But there are jobs that all individuals with disabilities can do at various places.
Right.
And it's up, I think, to us and to business leaders to figure out how do we engage them.
Right.
Because they are capable, earning a living, getting a paycheck, getting opportunity. It's a value add.
Oh my gosh!
And it's not even an extra. It's not even like there's a perk.
Right.
No, that's like the baseline. That's like the opportunity that any of us want.
Right.
And
completely.
they should have the opportunity that any of us would want to have.
Amen. Yeah, spot on. Right. And so let's keep shining a light on that. Right. And making folks aware that yes, there is value add here. Right. And let's play to their strengths. Yeah, Isn't that a thing? I remember reading that somewhere.
Yeah, but it's not. It's not cute, and it's not like I mean, people are like, oh, that's so cute. They're doing. That's not the point.
No,
the point isn't like, oh, we're doing something.
Oh, exactly. A little pat on the head.
They're adding value to your company. There is a business case for hiring these individuals in the right positions, who can be great stewards of what's going on at your company, and they can also be great representatives of it. Because they're likely to have a customer-facing
role
job.
Absolutely.
And they're going to have a smile on their face. They're going to be on time. They're going to be there every day.
Exactly.
They're going to work. They're going to do exactly what you told them to do.
Yep.
And so I really just want to drive that point home. I know I'm preaching to the choir here. I'm in this big,
Hey, we've got folks that are watching, right? And I think we need to continue to shine a light and share that. Yes, there are opportunities.
I won't stop, and I'm glad that we were able to just. I took that job training thing. I took that right turn for 10 minutes. So thank you for letting me do it.
Anytime. Where would you like to go left now?
No,
right.
Listen, you're the host, and when we started, I was sitting there thinking, man, I think that RJ might have a better radio voice than me.
Well, I've been told I've got a face for radio.
No, I wasn't going there. I mean, you did. I didn't go there. But I was like, that's a pretty. I can see why you're doing the podcast.
I appreciate that.
And plus, you're a great guy anyway.
Well, you're too kind. Enough about me, right? So, but I'm really curious about, this idea, and obviously Stacy's scratching her head, like, so you're writing a book? Like, what? Yeah. So,
well,
I think we all have it. I shouldn't say we all. Many of us, myself included, think I'd really love to write a book somewhere downstream, right?
I think. And this is the number I think I got from my publisher, and it may not be exactly right, but it's not far off. 81% of people say, I'd love to write a book.
How many actually do?
2% actually do it, because it is a lot of work. Okay. And I will say this too. I work with this group called Manuscripts Press. They're author-owned, which means I pay them up front for their author positioning consultant that I worked with for 6 weeks before I wrote a word. The consultant I worked with when I was writing it. Marketing. I'm ending 4 months of revisions right now. So I have somebody, then it's copywriting, then it's publishing.
Oh my gosh.
There's an expert all along the way to help you, teach you about publishing things that there's no way that any of us would know.
Right.
So I'll see people say, oh, I'm going to self-publish, which I did a children's book years ago about a kid that gets a concussion. It was to raise awareness about concussions for young people. Nobody read it because, unless your kid has a concussion, nobody wants to talk about it.
Right,
it's like,
exactly. Oh, yeah. No.
Talk about it.
Right.
But I also self-published, and I didn't know what I didn't know. And then so to have these people, everybody wants like HarperCollins or Simon and Schuster to come up and be like, hey, we want to sign you to a big contract. And then, you get like, 5 cents on the back end per
exactly.
per copy.
Right.
But for people that aren't, say household names that don't have that big following like that, it really makes a lot of sense. And they've just, manuscripts has been unbelievable. And I realized that I had a lot to say, and I'm like, I'm a good public speaker. I, workshops and keynote speeches and that sort of thing.
People
and then
seek you out for this.
And then I realized I had a point of view about certain communication techniques that I thought people could use better.
Right.
People that are doing it right, people that are doing it wrong. And so I started writing the book, and it's called Over Communicate. And immediately I had a conversation with my the head of the publishing group, and he said, there's nobody in that space, Rob, because it's like, I got to find a place where like Simon Sinek and Brene Brown and James Clear aren't, because I'll be like 18th in line. They'll be like, well, I read those other 17 and I didn't read.
I think I'm good.
His. He said, there's nothing in Over Communicate, and I said, well, as a marketer, I can see I can see an issue already.
Right.
That some people view Over Communicate as micromanaging. They view it as I sent 70 emails. And,
exactly. Right.
And he said, well, it's up to you. If you're going to call it this, it's up to you to define it at every turn. In the introduction, it's defined. During the book, it's defined. When I'm on, programs like this, it's defined.
Right.
I view Over Communicate as, if you sit there and you think about your team at work and you say, did I do enough? Did they get that message? The answer is no, you didn't.
If you have to ask the question, certainly not.
So you need to over communicate, meaning, in my definition, that you need to make sure that the objectives are clear, everybody's in alignment, and people know what they need to be doing.
Right.
For example, and I'm not going to go through every chapter, but I'll give you a couple that are relevant.
Great.
To chapter 2, to over communicate, you must first listen. So a lot of bosses are like, here, do this, do this, do this, you go, and you go. And everybody's like, okay. As opposed to, if you're the boss, you can't possibly know what's going on. You're not customer facing. You're sitting up in your ivory tower.
Completely.
And you need to be asking the questions of the people who are talking to the customers or clients.
What are you hearing?
What are you hearing? What do I need to know? And the good ones will ask questions. Question after question after question. They will listen. They will process. They will ask other good questions, and it will determine, the strategy that they take.
Right.
So that's one idea. And what I did was build a chapter around people whose communication techniques I admired. So Rich Jernstedt, who used to be who ran Golan for years in Chicago, and he has his own communication firm now. One of the best guys to talk about listening and asking questions that I ever saw. So I built a chapter on him. I supplemented it with lots of research, and there might be a secondary story here or there, and then obviously personal experiences. I can't just say, Rich did all these things, and then I don't offer any color. I will offer color based on the experiences I've had with clients. Chapter 4 is the illusion we're communicating when we're not. Ooh. So I had a CEO recently who I suggested, you should really have me come. He's out of town. You need to have me come do an Over Communicate workshop, because that's what the book, I hope, turns into. It's a workshop.
Right.
And he said, I was meeting with an underwriter that works for me, and we had this strategy, and 6 months later, they didn't do anything that I told them to. And I said, do you really think somebody who gets as little FaceTime with the CEO would listen to what he said and then defy him? Do you really think he would defy the CEO?
Sure.
Or do you think that you shared a message that person didn't understand, and they didn't have a good enough relationship with you to say, I don't know what you're talking about.
I got a question,
and so they just didn't do it.
Right.
And he was like, well, I can't believe they didn't do what I said. It's the illusion you're communicating when you weren't.
Right. Wow.
Delivering tough news, my old boss, Bruno Cohen, at CBS, when I first met him, said people will be shocked by how much less money they'll be making. He took over right when the recession started in 08, and he wasn't kidding. And he cut salaries a lot, but he didn't do it mean-spirited. He also showed us, he didn't show us all the books, but he kind of, there's transparency about, hey guys, we're in big trouble. Here it is.
Right.
And then he followed up with support to make sure that I was successful in my job. And he did all those things. And so I love that chapter, because people say, that would have been my least favorite boss ever. He cut your salary? I'm like, he did. And then he put me in a position to succeed. And then we did for a time being.
Right.
Until he left, and then, things changed. But he was, he was outstanding. But I digress. A couple other quick ones. Being an adaptive leader. You say, hey, I'm RJ, and they need to come to me. Here's how I communicate. So you're going to come sit with me in my office, and we're going to do it all based on me. Or you could say, hey, Joe over there, he ticks this way. And I know that if I meet him there in the middle, I'll get more out of him. Right. That's an adaptive leader. And
so wait, you have to actually meet someone where they are?
Meet them where they are, as opposed to I'm sitting here in the ivory tower
should they come to me?
in my leather, my leather beautiful chair, and there's a halo above me.
Right.
And
the angels just sing.
And they just do. Exactly. They just do. So there's a whole there's
wrong?
14
Is that
chapters.
What you're telling me?
I'm not saying it's wrong. What I'm saying is you would get a lot more out of them if you met them where they were. If you were smart enough.
Wow.
And that's EQ.
Right.
That's emotional quotient, right? I mean, you might have a high IQ and be like, I am a genius. Or you might have that, but you also might say, how am I going to get that person, him or her?
I prefer the EQ myself, right?
It's proven time and again to be very effective.
Absolutely.
Sometimes more than IQ.
Right.
But I'm not against IQ. I don't want people to go, it drops downing IQ. No, it's very important. EQ, super important.
Right, absolutely. And if my experience has been if a leader has high EQ, they are comfortable not being the highest IQ in the room.
The smart ones, the ones with the EQ will say, I hope there's somebody smarter than me in here.
Exactly.
Because that means I picked the right team and I got people that are going to be able to be creative problem solvers and they're going to be strategic.
Right.
But, and again, and this is something I've talked about in the podcast and I brought it up a little bit in the book, is being a we brand CEO or a me brand CEO. There are me brand CEOs that are like, hey, it's me. It's all about me.
Right.
Look at me. I'm the brand.
Get that light on me, right?
Or you might have a we brand CEO that says, I'm going to shine the light on that person and that person over there.
Bingo.
One of the best guys ever, and he's an old fraternity brother of mine, is Dave Kimball, who ran Ulta for several years.
Okay.
He's now retired. He would be in, the store in, Dayton, Ohio. And he'd be like, in here with the crew from, it was always about him and it was about them.
Right,
it was about them.
Yep.
And so I wrote about him a little bit in the book. So I had him beta read a couple of chapters. And he just sent me feedback, which I haven't read yet. So hopefully he doesn't go too hard on me.
Let's hope not. Right?
Let's hope not. Right. I mean, I'll let you beta read the darn thing, Dave. Come on. But all kidding aside, when he was at Ulta, we had him on the podcast because he was so about making sure that other people came along for that ride. And I think it's so important. I'm not saying you're not going to succeed if you're a me brand, but me brand people are people that have known, that have been famous for years.
Right.
You've known them for years. It's a lot more effective if you're not a household name to be a we brand CEO, but then you have to share the credit.
Right. And interestingly, folks aren't always game for that.
They don't always like to do that. So that's really on them. And the last chapter I want to talk about is under communicating.
Ooh.
You can't talk about over communicating. We talk about under communicating. I'm talking about ghosting, professionally or otherwise, quiet quitting, quiet firing. Those three in particular, I wrote a chapter about them, and it drives me nuts. It drives me nuts in my personal life. It drives me nuts in my professional life, because the point that I raised with the help of Don Ehlert, who is a ecareercoach.com, he was the person I talked to about this. It's like people lack emotional maturity. Mm-hmm. You know how easy it is if I don't have to blow. If something's going on and I'm not ready to talk about it, that's one thing. But and 99.6% of the other cases, if you text me something, I may not get back to you in 10 seconds, but there's no reason I can't. It's so much easier than getting on the phone. Text somebody back, email them back, just to let them know. Even if you say I don't have an answer, I'm not in a position to decide anything yet. You just let them know, because you know what happens when you don't communicate? People have all this time with their thoughts.
Oh.
And I wonder, why is RJ blowing
totally.
me? Did I upset him?
Right. Oh, no, I created my own narrative.
Did the Oak Leyden people not like me? What did I do? When I walked in there, did I look at somebody the wrong way? Like, you start worrying about things that don't exist.
And it's
wasted energy. And I don't like it at all.
Completely.
So.
My recommendation for that chapter would just to leave it blank.
Well, conversely, there's so much to talk about.
Exactly.
I could have written 3 chapters about it.
I'm sure. But if someone's ghosting me, I'm not hearing anything. I'm not seeing anything. So I think you just leave it blank.
It's that would be interesting. Can you imagine a book though? It's like you got chapter, there's several pages, and then all of a sudden it's chapter, whatever it is, under communicating, and you flip and it's like blank, and then it's the next chapter after that. Maybe I should think about that. It's not too late. I'm still in revisions. I can still say, you know what? I'm going to scrap the entire under communicate chapter and we're just going to leave a blank page.
Just leave it blank.
That'll drive the point home.
Right.
But then they'll miss all that great wisdom that Don and I are sharing with everybody.
Exactly.
I can't do that to the readers.
No. Figure out another way to market that. Will you?
Yes,
exactly.
The wheels are turning, man. They are.
And take full credit.
No, listen.
We'll just edit it out on when we show this.
No, don't edit it out. Let everybody know that you're giving me all these great notes that I need to be, taking full advantage of.
Of course.
Right.
Hello.
Right.
I've got all the answers. Haven't I said that yet?
That's
right.
Listen, do not edit this part out because this is the turning point for the book. I can see it right now.
I feel it. I'm glad you do too, because I certainly do. Yeah. I feel like, wow, okay, there's some value add in this.
There's a definite value add. And I mentioned it before. The reason that I wanted to do this is because I feel like, and I've already done like 3 of them with executive leadership teams, it's over communicate.
So right.
And it's different than the voice of reason presentation training. That's for presenting.
Yep.
This is leadership teams. I get on Zoom calls with them individually. So to build trust,
right,
and to say, where's your pain point?
Right, set that baseline.
And there might be 3 or 4 or 5 different pain points, which coincidentally all correspond to chapters that I'm writing. And so we go in there. I don't necessarily talk about the person that I built the chapter on, but I talk about the experience I've had.
Sure.
Oh, you thought you were communicating that message. You weren't, Mr. CEO or Mrs. CEO. What's the deal? Oh, we got to do better. And then it starts this brainstorming. It starts this discussion. And they know each other well enough because they're on the same leadership team.
Right.
Where they're really like, I can serve it up, and then I get out of the way.
Exactly.
And
boom.
And I keep them on point. But they end up having really good conversations about it, and it's things they go, oh, I didn't think about that.
Right. And they get to the core. They get to the core of what.
Get to the core of it. If we're going to be successful, one CEO that I am thinking about in particular, who had the moment where he did have self-awareness, so that worked.
Thank goodness, right?
He said, "Man, I thought I was asking the right questions. I thought I was giving the right prescription for whatever needed to be done.
Yep.
And I wasn't listening, and it was like." Oh, and then somebody else who knows him was like, "No, you weren't."
No,
and then it's like, "Well, how are we gonna do better next time?"
Right.
And so it's really productive.
How we learn it from that.
So I've already done a few of them. I think when the book comes out, there'll be more. But that's kind of what I'm really excited to be able to do with leadership teams.
That's so good.
Is to introduce things to them. I'm not saying it may be the first time they've ever heard it.
No,
but it's something they haven't thought of in a while, and they go, "You know what? We can't internally. We're having such a hard time getting to market. Like, why is that?" It's because everybody's not aligned. Because everybody's not on the same page. Not everybody understands what they're supposed to do.
Right. And yet we've all been doing this, whatever this is, whatever our job, whatever the company's mission is. So I think we take it for granted, right? And so, yes, you kind of got to get down to the basics again, establish that baseline, and then go from there. Rebuild, right?
And just really, think about it. You have to think about it. If you're like, we're good, we're good. If you really think that, then you usually aren't.
Right. It's usually a good indicator.
But again, it's a short conversation. Good luck to you.
Right. Exactly.
Keep crushing it.
Bye-bye. Here's my book.
Yeah, that's right. Here's my book. I'll sign it for you. Exactly. And I expect to hear from you in a couple of months.
Or not, maybe.
Or not.
Maybe that might be better. Right. Exactly.
I have to tell you, there's some people in my life, and I won't say who are terrible communicators, who have done wrong by me or somebody in my family.
Right.
And I'm like, you know what? When this book comes out, I have no relationship with them right now. I'm going to say under communicating. Right. Hey, so-and-so, chapter 11 is
chapter
for
11,
you.
right?
I think you could use it. Rob. Right. And they're going to be like, what?
Huh?
Under communicating.
Ooh.
I'm not using it as a tool to get even, but I am saying there are about 4 or 5 people that I'm like, should I even waste the money on them? I'm like, I think I will.
I think so.
I will.
Right, yeah. It'll make you feel better, right?
It'll make me feel better.
Right?
It'll make other people feel better. that we tweaked them for whatever.
Right, exactly. Right.
But it's not. That's not why I wrote the book.
No, of course not. Of course not. So when you look at the whole process, right? So you engage the consultant to help you do this, and how long is that process? Like how much time have you invested in this book to this point?
Oh, the idea, kicked around the idea last fall, in fall of 24. I'm sorry.
Okay.
And then it really came into focus like early after the new year. And then I started talking to different publishers, not a lot, a few of them, and found this one and had somebody who had worked with them before,
right,
who said they're very good at helping
right?
you.
Is that what you said?
Manuscripts Press. All along the way, they're very good at helping you along with things you don't know. And on the back end, you own. I mean, there's obviously publishing costs and things of that nature,
right?
But you own the book, so it's minus the publishing costs and various other things because they get paid up front. I own the back end, so it's not like, oh, I'm going to sell a book and I get to keep $1 out of 20 or something.
Right.
So that had appeal too, and I'm well aware that I'm writing a business book, and I'm not James Patterson Jr., and I'm probably not going to be a Amazon bestseller for 54 weeks. But I do hope that businesses invite me in and say, hey, we want them to come do this. I hope that they'll have, say, lunch and learns or various seminars.
Right.
I can go, they order 50 books. I come speak to them, sign the books after.
Boom.
Just bring things to their attention or maybe things they weren't thinking about.
Right.
So that'll be fun for me.
Well, and it feels like, as you described it, kind of how I'm processing it is, it's not sit down, read this book over a weekend or over a week or 2 weeks, however fast you are. It's really read a chapter, digest it.
Yeah.
Read the second chapter, digest it. Look through the table of contents. Oh, you know what? I need to read chapter 7. I need to read chapter 11.
I let one of my clients read 2 chapters because it was chapter 2. It was the to over communicate you must first listen, and it was the illusion we're communicating. I said, man, you really need. So now I talk in chapters.
Right.
Somebody said, but this happened. I'm like, you need to read 2 and 4, chapters 2 and 4. So I let him beta read 2 and 4.
Nice.
I said, and he was very complimentary. And I'm like, when I have people beta reading, I don't need them to. I mean, I want them to say nice things.
Right.
But I also want them to say, this story didn't really land, or that one was really good. Like you want that kind of feedback.
Right. Totally.
I've not gotten the full feedback from him yet, but I did let him beta read because I wanted him to read those chapters because I want him to. Those are areas of improvement.
Right.
And I'm not bagging him. He's a wonderful guy. He's a great client and a friend, but we can all do better.
Absolutely. I mean, if we're not all lifelong learners, right? And
gotta be. That's what Eileen says all the time. By the way, the lifelong learner
right.
thing.
It's huge.
I always subscribe to it, and I didn't really ever think about it very deeply. And she's always talking about, I'm a lifelong learner. You have to be a lifelong learner,
right?
And so you just brought it up, and I'm like, checkmate. I mean, there you go.
Right. It's extremely important, right? But there's a little bit of self-awareness in there, right? That's I realize that I don't have all the answers, right? And I think we also need to be curious about whatever, right? It's curious about communication, curious about history, curious about whatever. Right?
I love learning new things, and I don't think for a second, even when I was in TV and I'd done it forever, I always knew there were ways to get better. And if you think that you don't have anything else to learn, you should probably quit or retire, or you may be asked to quit or retire.
Exactly.
But because you're done.
Right.
If you don't have any more intellectual curiosity about something, and you're like, this is as good as it gets, then fine.
Hey,
and some people may sell their company for $1 gazillion dollars, and you can retire. So just go retire and go hang out on the beach or whatever.
Yeah. And tell us how it is.
Please don't tell me how it is. I know how it is.
Right.
And all I'm going to do is wish I was there.
Exactly. Just, send a check to Special Olympics. Then we'll all feel better, right?
Right. Absolutely. So anyway, it's been a great journey, and the book's coming out in February, and it's been exciting. I'm really excited about it, and because it feels so real, because we're getting down to the last bit of the revisions.
So good.
And then we're talking about beta reader feedback, and and then it's copywriting, and then it's publishing, and then it's coming out, and then I'm gonna have a book, and so I did a pre-sale campaign to get early adopters to kind of be on the journey with me, because it's not good enough for me just to talk about my book. I need other people to be like, hey, this book is really you should read it, whatever. So I'll be busy getting it to all those folks initially, and some of them for the pre-sale campaign, it'd be like, hey, an hour of virtual coaching, or I'll come in and do a half-day workshop, or a lunch and learn, whatever.
Right.
So I'll be fulfilling those, back end requirements happily, because I'm just so grateful. People took part.
Nice when, nice when people jump on board, right?
Yeah, it is.
That in and of itself kind of makes you feel good.
It is.
Walking a little taller.
And I, as somebody who never asked anybody really for anything, you definitely leave your comfort zone.
Right.
But I also, I was like, I'm not going to listen. The book's going to get published whether I get this, people to jump in or not. But the fact that I got 75 people to jump in,
that's great,
helps me amplify it.
Totally.
The fact that I have 14 people that I interviewed for the book, who all have networks of people who are going to say, I'm in chapter 5 of that. I mean,
right.
So that it wasn't done because of that, but as I started thinking about the marketing principles, I was like,
how do I get this out now?
It's going to really help to have them, if I'm doing a book tour, a book event, to go to their network.
Right.
And they'll be like, I'm here, and we'll talk about their chapter.
Right.
You may want to know about, because Eileen's chapter 9, nice. I think it's pretty important.
Will you do events? Is that the plan?
I will.
What? Give an example, or a couple examples of kind of what you're thinking.
I would love. I've been talking to this woman who I know fairly well, who's at one of the big downtown clubs in Chicago. And I don't want to say which one yet because we don't have it nailed down.
Right.
But she's like, I'd love to host you there.
Nice.
I'd love to go to maybe my favorite restaurant. And then there are people from out of town who are there. So the illusion we're communicating when we're not is my old professor at DePaul University in Greencastle, Indiana, Jeff McCall. And I'm like, well, I'd probably go on a book tour to my alma mater, right?
Sure, of course.
And he's chapter 4.
There you go.
I think about my brother-in-law, Ryan Smith in L.A., who's a digital marketing whiz, and he actually helped create Peacock. And he moved on to a different firm, but the chapter with him is communicating through generations. So how did Gen Xers talk to Gen Zers, who talk to millennials, who talk to boomers? I mean,
is that needed?
No,
I'm sorry. I just thought
no. It's you know what? I'm getting rid of that chapter when I get home. Like, so unnecessary. But I think about him. He's in Los Angeles, and so we haven't come up with anything yet because the publisher is going to really. I had a planning meeting with him several months back, but we're not really talking about a book tour till like late spring, early summer.
Okay.
So those would be placed, and I just gave him those ideas, and he's like, "That's a good start."
Right.
So. A lot of them will be here because that's where a lot of people are.
Sure, right.
And then some of them will be out of town because that's where some of the other people are who, may want to invite people to come listen.
Right. That's exciting.
And buy a book.
Right. Yeah, there you go. Well, we will promote.
I appreciate it. Well, you already are.
To the fullest.
You're already doing it, so thank you. I
Absolutely.
Appreciate it. Yeah.
No, it's important work, right? It's we can't assume that our message is being heard, right?
No.
And whether that's, Special Olympics, Oak Leyden, we as leaders, right? I mean, there's just so much that kind of we hope, but now you've got some very specifics that, okay, if we follow these things, right? It's a little checklist, right? Well, we can get stuff done. We get more stuff done.
I had one of my beta readers was so effusive with her praise. I'm so grateful. Her name's Tam Lawrence. She runs an agency. She runs several businesses, and she's a dynamo. And I didn't
shout out to Tam.
Shout out to Tam. I don't know her that well. We actually met on LinkedIn, and I was just fascinated by what she did. And so it was good to have people that you don't know real well read the book. And her comments were so effusive. And she was like, "This isn't a book. This is like a manual. It's like a business." And I'm like, "All right, and you should be doing this or that." And some of the things I was sitting there going, "Oh God, that could be on the book blurb right there." Like that
totally.
Those 3 sentences. Oh my gosh,
right there.
It was really nice to hear it, but it was also nice to hear it from somebody who's so accomplished in the communication industry.
Nice.
Who's like, you should look at this more than a book. It is like a manual. And I'm like, I think it is because, like I said, I talk in chapters.
Right.
Oh, you could really use chapter 10.
Exactly.
Quit under communicating with me. Chapter 11.
Exactly. And people are thinking, should I be offended by this? Are you chapter 7? He called me chapter 4. What does that mean? Right?
Yeah, I mean it's definitely a different way of talking. But but the thing that I'm so encouraged by is when you're creating, it's all out here, and now I feel like I'm getting my arms around it in terms of
coming in,
like from a communication standpoint. Almost, and I didn't do this by design. It really just happened that way. I was fascinated by the subject matter, and then I realized that when people fall short, it's usually in one of those areas.
Interesting.
And I'm like, that just reinforces.
Exactly. If I track that is something.
That is something. Right. The only bad thing about writing a book called Over Communicate is people in my life, whenever I don't communicate well, they're like, "You're writing the book Over Communicate." Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, that's kind of rough.
And I'm like,
that's kind of rough getting that thrown back at you.
and I deserve it. So I can still do better.
Right.
But when people point that out, and they will all remain nameless.
Right. Of course.
So that I can continue
but
communicating
I assume you
with
know
them.
who you are, right?
Probably.
Right.
Probably. Yeah.
Totally fair. Totally fair. So as you look out to 2026, obviously you'll be publishing the book, you'll be doing that. Kind of what are some of the trends? And, I'd love to kind of end here, right?
Yeah.
With just an idea of, all right, what trends in communication do you see kind of coming through in 2026?
Well, they may have already started. They actually have already started, but there are two in particular, and this really comes from a lot of podcast guests that we've had on recently. First of all, as a communicator, in the their communicators are having seats at the table in the C-suite, and they should.
Right.
They are learning the business. They're being asked to know about government relations, investor relations,
all of these areas,
corporate, affairs, whatever the case is. And so I'm seeing that these companies are understanding, because a lot of times if you were a marketer or a communicator, be like, all right, go implement this for me now.
Right.
Go run to your office and just go do it.
Close your door.
And now they're like, oh, I need you to sit at the table and help come up with the plan. So I think that is one of the key components.
That's a pretty significant change.
It is a significant change, and it's trending in the right direction. And as a communicator, I am very heartened to see this, because I think we do have a lot of things that we can help clarify. The other thing is AI, and I know AI has been, and it's just changing so rapidly, and people have been so fearful of it.
Right.
And I'm going to lose my job and this and that. And I'm not saying people won't. I'm saying AI is a tool that you can use in your favor. Figure out a way to make AI work for you. And I'll give you one example. There's a guy, Chris Quinn, who runs Cleveland.com.
Okay.
He's the editor of it. And they started relying on their newsroom to take care of the business piece. They're actually turning a profit.
Wow.
Which I don't know that there's 5 newsrooms in America that can say we're trending in the right direction.
Right.
But what he said was, everybody was so fearful of it, it's going to take my job. He said, but for things like follow-up stories, because you go tell a great story and then you don't follow up and it falls through the cracks, AI could help him. And I'm being very specific to his industry.
Right.
My old industry. Follow-up stories. You want to go research data at the courthouse? You're going to go spend 10 hours combing through all the...
No.
Or could AI do that?
Exactly. A couple of good
boil
prompts.
it down for you. Now, the thing is, whenever you get anything, and I think everybody knows this about AI, you can't just run it through the garden there and be like, there it is. As a human being, you have to be able
Post that on the wall.
Right. You got to be able to look at it and say, is that correct?
Right.
Is that in our voice?
Right.
Is that accurate?
Right.
Does that convey what we want to convey? If you can answer those questions, then it's good enough.
Right.
But there still needs to be a human element looking it over. And I know that this isn't like, oh, it's all starting out. But I would say understanding that AI can be your friend, because we spent so much time already talking about how AI is like the big enemy and it's taking over all these jobs. It's taking over some jobs.
Right.
I would say if you're an order taker, hey, Rob, go do this. Okay.
Right.
I'm probably going to be out of a job in 6 months. If I can add value to what I'm doing, if I can, I always like to say, and Eileen, she coined it, and I lifted it and shifted it because I like it so much. But like, we're paid for our ideas. So somebody would say, oh, marketers, a dime a dozen. I can just plug it into AI and we're good. I'm like, that's a start. That's a portion of it. But you need my experience. You need the journey I've been on, which you can, do machine learning on it for forever. And it can be advanced, but it's not going to get the experiential thing that you need to have. So I would say the AI thing, understanding that it's changing quickly, understanding that we probably have no idea exactly how advanced it'll be in 6 months, but also think about ways of using it as an ally and not as an adversary.
Right.
And
let it ride shotgun.
Let it ride shotgun. And then those, seeing the communicators as key components of your business strategy and sitting at the same table with all the other C-suite folks that are making the big decisions that affect the company.
Right. That's awesome. Well done.
Was this rehearsal? When are we taping?
Exactly. All right, now let's run it back.
Jeez. What did I say about a? No, okay.
Chapter 2 or chapter 4?
This is one of those. I don't even know.
I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Really, I appreciate the time.
But
this is so much fun to be with you. I believe so much in what Oak Leyden's doing.
Thank you.
And this is just a great opportunity to talk about, what we're passionate about. Right.
Amen.
So thank you.
Thank you so much, Rob.
My pleasure.
Really appreciate you. Yeah. Appreciate all you're doing, and can't wait to see the book launch. And this will be fun. This will be fun to keep an eye on.
It's been a joy. Thank you.
Absolutely. So, Rob Johnson, everybody, really grateful for today's episode of The Intersection by Oak Leyden. Thanks for joining us. Be sure to like and subscribe. Have a great day.